Hello, my friends. Welcome to the Electric Viking. Fantastic to have you here on the channel today. If you've already subscribed, thank you. Stoked. Really appreciate your support. It means a lot to me, and it is what enables me to keep this channel going. I've reported recently about some interesting things happening in the Australian EV market. Aussies are well known for their reluctance to move towards new technology. A lot of people think we're a little bit behind other European countries. Some would say a lot behind. But in our defense, we do live in an enormous country. So that is true. But I've recently reported on the fact that EV adoption rates and acceptance of EVs is starting to really change in Australia. And I think some of the investment going on here proves the perception of business leaders that EVs are becoming more and more popular here. I made a video last week talking about EV adoption rates skyrocketing in 2021 versus 2020. But I mentioned that this was just the start, just the beginning of what's going to be an enormous growth rate, an absolutely astronomical, massive growth rate increase for EVs in Australia. Now, I've just seen today, there's an article on CleanTechnica. I really recommend this website, CleanTechnica. I feel as though they don't show clickbait regularly as websites like electric.co, Inside EVs do. So it's a really good website. I highly recommend it. And this article is titled Electric Vehicles Getting Ready to Rocket in Australia. It was written by David Waterworth. The Australian Electric Vehicle Association, AEVA, has moved its reporting schedule from once a year to twice a year. The EV landscape is changing so fast that they need to report more often. The current report highlights that more EVs have been sold in the Australian vehicle market in the last 6 months than in the whole of last year. A huge change. Please note all speculation in this article about the future is just my opinion, extrapolated from the data that's in this report. It seems likely that Australia will start the steep climb up the S-curve within the next 18 months. I agree 100% with you. David Waterworth. Last year, the EV share of Australia's overall auto market was 0.8%. It is now approaching 2% and should be more so, much more than that by the end of this year. From the fourth quarter, many new models of EVs will become available in Australia, including 8 from BYD. Glad he mentions BYD because BYD is the one car company that will affect the Australian EV market more than anyone else. Yes, more than Tesla, more than Volkswagen, more than anyone. Don't get me wrong here, guys. As you know, I'm a big investor in Tesla. I don't discredit them in any way. Incredible company. But BYD is the company that will change the automotive landscape in Australia. This will lead to a tripling of available EV models. BYD Dolphin will become the cheapest EV in Australia, eclipsing the MG ZS EV by some margin, I might add. There are many BEV sedans and SUVs. Things will really hot up when we get electric utes with V2X. The number of public chargers has doubled in the last 2 years. Currently across Australia, there are 7.2 electric vehicles for every installed public charger. At the moment, it would be difficult to make a business case for more chargers, but it's a chicken and egg question. Hopefully, if you build them, the drivers will come. And more fortunately, I've just made another video showing that an additional 10,000 electric chargers are going to be built in Australia before 2025. Those have all been announced. That's not my speculation. Those are all chargers that have all been announced. 10,000 before 2025. That's a lot of chargers. Both Hyundai and Volkswagen have been quoted as saying that there needs to be a better regulatory framework in place in Australia. This seems like a request for subsidies to me. Now, Volkswagen and Hyundai whining about the framework for EVs in Australia, to me, that is not the right approach. And I am very disappointed that they've chosen to take that approach. I believe they're just coming up with excuses for why they haven't been able to put themselves in a position where they can supply our market, and not just the Australian market, the New Zealand market, the American market, many markets worldwide with enough EVs. They just simply didn't get to the ball game quick enough. They should have been transitioning to EVs in 2017, 18, 19, not in 2020, 21, which is what they've done. So they're basically making excuses for the fact that they don't have enough vehicles. They're sending their EVs primarily to Europe, where, well, they have to sell them in Europe because otherwise they pay fines. Now, some manufacturers are holding back on bringing in their EVs. Some fear that the country will become a dumping ground for obsolete technology. The lack of a federal policy and until now state subsidies hasn't stopped Tesla. As a result, 75% of EVs sold in Australia are Teslas, and battery electric vehicle sales outnumber PHEVs by a ratio of 6 to 1. 6 to 1. We need to give a passing mention to Toyota. Its mild hybrids are selling at a rate of 6,000 per month. Now, as you guys know, I believe Toyota is in serious, very, very serious, deep waters, and they're well over their heads, and they're sinking without anything to hold on to, but refusing to grab on to a life raft, knowing that it does exist. I've made several videos on Toyota putting itself in a position to fail, planning to fail, not planning to make EVs en masse. In fact, planning to build more ICE vehicles worldwide than they do electric vehicles in 2030. They're definitely not planning on going all EV by 2030. In fact, very, very, very far from it. And they're stubbornly refusing to admit that that is where the market is heading. I'll put some links in the description below for all the videos that I've made about Toyota and all the stupid things that they've said over the last, well, okay, it's fair enough. I can understand them saying stupid things 3 years ago, 2 years ago maybe, but within the last 12 months, they continue to say stupidly false, irrational, emotional things. And clearly, whoever the people in charge driving the company are just, in my opinion, basket cases. Anyway, let's move on. Aussies might leapfrog the PHEV transition and move straight to Norway-like numbers with EV sales. Maybe, that's possible. In fact, coming soon is the anomaly of Teslas being cheaper than Kia and Hyundai vehicles, thanks to recent price cuts from Tesla and better, and therefore more expensive vehicles from the South Koreans. Things are getting very exciting in the land down under. Now, there's a very interesting comment here from Kiwi Guy. He makes a really good point. Something that I haven't mentioned before and I didn't even realize was happening. If you think Australia is getting ready to rocket, just check out New Zealand. Government cash rebates are paid into your bank account within a week. New Zealand, $8,625, which is around about $6,000 US, when buying a new EV under $80,000, or $3,450 for an imported used EV. Tesla Model 3 SR Plus is now cheaper than many other new EVs, and they've been flying off the shelves. MG ZS EV sold out, and we can't get any into the country until 2022. Imagine what's going to happen when BYD starts selling vehicles in New Zealand. They are going to go absolutely crazy. Guys and girls, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate your support. I hope you've learned something here today. I certainly have about the New Zealand market. Crazy stuff going on over there. Imagine getting an $8,600 rebate to buy an EV. I think the New Zealand market's going to transition to EVs very, very, very quickly. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.